guys are doing well and I hope you're good. Make sure you're keeping safe. We're still in a pandemic, girls. We still are in a pandemic. So if this is your first time on my channel, welcome. I hope you're good. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Welcome to the gang. Welcome to the family members. If you're already a family member, how you doing, baby? I missed you. I really missed you. I real life missed your ass. I missed you. For real, I did miss you. Did you miss me? I missed you. I know you missed me. Hey, cool. So, we're back again with I Know My Rights. I know my rights. Yes, you do. So we are here to learn about our rights. If you guys haven't watched the first video I did on I Know My Rights, make sure you check it out. It will be linked above. It will pop up on there. So let's get into today's video. Let's go. Okay, so today we're talking about the most important rights that every Nigerian should know about. Once again, if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes where I make all the information I need on the video. So I apologize if I look down. It's just to give you guys a very well detailed and informative information, not just, talking out my head. So the most important rights that every Nigerian should know about. These are your rights. So I'm going to break them down into 3 different parts because there are 11 rights altogether. Yeah, 11. And we do 3 today. We do 4 the next time. We do 4 another time. Yeah, that's what we're going to do today. So there are going to be 3 parts of this video. So we're going to start off with part 1, which is the first 3 rights that you should know. These are one of, if not the most important rights. These rights are known as the fundamental right, and they are contained in Chapter 5 of the 1999 Constitution as amended of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yeah, can you see that? Can you see that? I think you can see that. Okay. But yeah, it's contained in this book. This is like my law school one. Student alert. But yeah. So let's get started. So the first right that we need to know about is the right to life, which is section 33 sub 1. This is the most important right that every single human being should have. This is the right for you to exist freely, and no one can intentionally, listen to my word, no one can intentionally deprive you of your right to life, except in execution of the sentence of the court in respect to a criminal case of which you have been found guilty. Did you get that? You can always go back and just read it again and listen to it again and understand that no one can intentionally deprive you of your right to life except in the execution of a sentence of a criminal offense of which you have been found guilty. That's the only time. So there are exceptions, as I said already, to this right, which are laid out in section 33 sub 2 of the Constitution, child. So let me read it out. So these are: if a person dies as a result of the use of a reasonable force for the defense of another person from unlawful violence or for the defense of a property. So in the case, let me give you guys an example. Unlawful violence against the person in the case of a self-defense. If you're in a situation where the person is about to kill you, is either kill the person or be killed, and you end up killing that person, that is the case of self-defense. So in such cases, or when a police person in a case is trying to arrest someone and the person is resisting an arrest or putting the police person's life in danger, and the only reasonable thing they can do is to kill the person or shoot the person dies, that is an exception to the right. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense in the comments, please, because I just explain things that make sense in my head, but when I say it, I don't know if it makes sense. So let me know if it makes sense down there. So the second exception is if a person dies as a result of the use of reasonable force in order to effect a lawful arrest or to prevent the escape of a person lawfully detained, which is basically what I said. They have to use in a case where the person dies as a result of a police person using a reasonable force in order to lawfully arrest a person or to prevent a person from escaping if the person has already been lawfully detained. Yeah. The third exception to this right is if a person dies as a result of the use of reasonable force for the purpose of suppressing a riot. In the case of a riot, if the police or the army or whoever uses a reasonable force to suppress a riot. However, the killing of the victims of EndSARS in Lekki, Lagos, Nigeria does not in any way, shape or form fall under the exception. That was just outright murder. That's just what it was. That's just what it was, because they didn't have to use reasonable force in that situation. Okay, so the second right that you have under Chapter 5 of the Fundamental Rights in 1999 Constitution is the right to dignity. This is in section 34 sub 1 of the Constitution. This right simply means that the citizens are entitled to the respect of the dignity of his person and not to be subject to torture, inhuman or degrading treatment. No Nigerian should be held in slavery. It also states that no one should be required to perform force for compulsory labor. All right. This right basically gives you the right to be you, to not be held captive, to not be tortured, to not be in degrading situations, to not be used as a slave, to not be forced to do what you're not meant to do or what you don't want to do. You have the freedom to say what you want to do and what you don't want to do. However, as we know, every single right has an exception, as I already said, and this exception is laid out in section 34 sub 2 of the Constitution, which I'm going to read out from the book because there are quite a few exceptions. All right, cool. So let's go on. Section 34 sub 2 states, for the purpose of subsection 1 sub c, that is, no person shall be required to perform forced or compulsory labor. Compulsory or forced labor does not include 1. Any labor required in consequence of a sentence or order of the court. So when you're sentenced to, 7 years imprisonment with hard labor, that's not a forced labor. You have to do that because you committed a crime, so you have to do the time. That is if you committed a crime. That's what that simply means. B. Any labor required of a person of the armed force of the Federation or the Nigerian Police Force in pursuance of their duty as such. Policemen carrying out the duties, armed forces carrying out the duties, whatever duty that is that they've told them to carry out, they have to do that. That is not a forced labor. It's something you've signed up to do because that is your duty to do that, if that makes sense. C. In the case of persons who have objections to services in the armed forces of the Federation, any labor required instead of such services. Same thing that I just explained. Any labor required which is reasonably necessary in the event of any emergency or life-threatening or well-being of the community. So if the community is in danger, any labor required which is reasonable in that situation is not forced labor. It's what you have to do to keep the community safe, if that makes sense. So E, any labor or services that form part of normal communal or civil obligation for the well-being of the society. So it's saying the same thing. If it's the well-being of the society, then yeah, they have to do that. So that's what the second right is. Let's go on to the third right, guys. Okay, so the third right that you have as a Nigerian citizen is the right to personal liberty, which is laid out in section 35 of the Constitution. This right helps to ensure that every Nigerian citizen is not deprived of his or her rights to freedom unless it is in accordance with the law in the Constitution. Therefore, if a person is arrested or detained, he or she has the following rights. Let me read out the rights a person has when they are detained or arrested. First, you have the right to remain silent and not to answer any question. So once you are arrested or detained, you have the right to silence, not to say nothing. Pim, I don't say pim, I don't even say pim, just mute child. Unless you're talking to your lawyer or a lawyer that you feel comfortable with. That's one of your rights. Alright guys, so the second right that you have if you're arrested or detained is the right to be informed in writing within 24 hours. And within that 24 hours, you also have to be informed in writing the grounds for your arrest. Yeah? That's your right. They have to do all this within 24 hours. Thirdly, you also have the right to be brought before a court within a reasonable time. So, if an individual is not tried within 2 months, 2 months are for individuals that are not entitled to bail, and 3 months for individuals that are released on bail or are entitled to bail. Such person shall be released either unconditionally or upon such conditions reasonably necessary. So, if you're not tried within a reasonable time, 2 months for people not entitled to bail and 3 months for those entitled to bail, such persons have to be released, shall be released unconditionally or upon condition reasonably necessary. Okay, so that was the third one. However, as we already know, there are exceptions to every single right because they're always trying to find evidence. But yeah, there are exceptions to every right. So let me read out the exceptions for you guys. Exceptions in this particular case, in this particular right, are 1. If it's in execution of a court order or a sentence, then your right to personal liberty will be removed. Lawful arrest for a commission of an offense or to prevent the commission of an offense, your right to personal liberty will be taken away from you. Restrictions placed on an individual who is under 18 for the purpose of his education or his welfare, your right to personal liberty will be taken away from you, child. Restrictions placed on people suffering from infectious diseases, person of unsound mind, alcohol or drug addicts, for the purpose of their care and treatment or for the protection of the community, your right to personal liberty will be taken away from you. Preventing the unlawful entry of any person into Nigeria and lawful extradition, your right to personal liberty will be taken away from you. In this 5 situations, these are the exceptions to when your right to personal liberty can be taken away from you. Alright, there we have it, guys. These are your first 3 rights. So that is your right to life, right to dignity of human person, and right to personal liberty. All these rights have their exceptions. Know your rights, know the exceptions to your rights, so that if you ever find yourself in any situation that might be unfortunate, for lack of a better word, you know what to say, you know how to maneuver, and you have to let people know that you know your rights. That way you can educate your children and other people if you do not have the time to sit down and read the book. And in any situation that you might find yourself, it is always advised to actually hire a lawyer, invest your money into lawyers, because they protect you from so many stuff. They really do. The good ones really protect you from so many stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you have a good lawyer on your side, you're good. Do you get what I mean? Don't just feel like you can do it all yourself. It's good to know your rights, yeah, but you need to hire us to do right by you, yeah. All right, cool. That's what I'm saying. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I will see you guys back here next time on I Know My Rights. Say it with me, baby. I know my rights. Yes, Paul. I'll see you guys back here next time. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'm sorry if today's video is a little bit longer than usual, but it's for your benefit and for your safety. So see you guys back here next time. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to this video, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.